guys, here from Communications and React Today is part of the World Scout Project. Just to wish you the best day on St. Patrick's. I have heard that ICE have intervened some of the celebrations in the United States, being very offensive, etc. But here in Canada, we celebrate St. Patrick's Day with lots of love. So happy St. Patrick's Day for all here in Canada and all the Europeans, especially to the Irish. And hope you have fun. It's all about it. Gather with friends and people that you love and celebrate a happy meal and a few beers and enjoy your day. So happy St. Patrick's Day from Communications and React Today. It's part of the World Health Project. Bye-bye, hasta pronto.
All right, so what we have seen all around the world is nothing but war, war, war. And the President of the United States is telling us, a country in the world, that he's right when he's totally wrong. Nobody wants this war, and we should leave Iran in peace. Let the people of Iran decide their future. Instead of going and bombing and taking over the Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh in 1953, and then went to Central America and took over the land with the Dul brothers and took Guatemala land because President Arbenz of Guatemala was elected also democratically, and he was coup d'etat by the CIA, and of course the land went over to the United Fruit Company and many American corporations, as is what they always want to do. We're going to go to America, go to Latin America, take over your land, take over your resources, and that's it. And if you don't like it, we're going to bomb you, we kill you. We have to remember here John Perkins in his book, Confessions of an Economic Assassin, when he speaks about the pound of flesh, that corporations, when they wouldn't get along with the United States interests, because everything is in the United States' interest. It's not in the American and other partners of the United States. Something that our Prime Minister of Canada said in that discourse at the World Economic Forum recently, 2 months ago, where everybody said, oh my God, somebody said the truth. He didn't say nothing but that he, like every other corrupt government in the European Union, with Friedrich Merz in Germany, which is another banker. The problem with bankers is that they only think about money, money, money and production for the few and the stockholders. And when it comes to the public affairs, look at that. $30 billion are going to be spent in the Arctic, which is a good idea, over 10 years, so he says, as long as he doesn't go with $150 billion that America is asking for from Canada, in order for us, the people of Canada, to pay $150 billion to be protected by the United States, plus the big, That means the corporations of America are going to construct a supposed dome that now is being destroyed, literally, by a relatively inferior army than that of the United States, which is the most powerful army in the world. Everybody knows that. The United States has the power to obliterate literally any country with bombs, nuclear bombs, or regular armies, etc., invasions, which is what we don't want. Here in Canada, we don't want that. We don't want to send soldiers to die for the super rich, the congressmen and women in the United States. It doesn't matter whether Republicans or Democrats. They are both for the killing and assassination of innocent people, and that is obvious that does not represent the interest of the American people. And when I speak about the bankers or people that have worked for central banks, like Mark Carney in Canada, Friedrich Merz in Germany, who are representatives of Wall Street in Germany and representatives of Wall Street and their interests in Canada, which is to protect the corporations, Peter Thiel, the Elon Musks, all these super rich people. If I get a contact for my company, for example, Communications, awesome, I will make money too, awesome. But I'm not Elon Musk and I'm not Jew, so I won't get, even though I have been fighting for this company, Communications, in order to compete with YouTube and Facebook in different ways. There's one like Rumble, there's other little companies that have taken a place in the world competing, but apparently it's not in the interest of the billionaires to help entrepreneurs like me, which only interest is to be public. Of course, money is in the mind. I want to make money like everybody else. I'm not against capitalism, but I'm against the capitalism that takes over everything, like a mafia, like the United States is doing, like President Donald Trump is doing with his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in order to take him to Ukraine for the reorganization and reestablishment of the city that has been destroyed, construction companies, etc., and make a lot of millions of dollars. That's dishonest. That is dishonest. He can make millions of dollars, but there's other people that can compete. That is not only Flint or Caterpillar Motors and the same companies that always go to reconstruct whatever they destroy. They find the problem, they find the solution, and they use the same companies over and over again. And that is what China is opposing. China is saying, okay, we can make deals with you, Central South America. We can make deals with you, Europe. We can make deals with you, Central Asia, to expand the Silk Road Initiative and to benefit you more. We're not going to destroy you. We're not going to coup d'etat you. We're not going to just kill and destroy everybody that opposes us because we want money for ourselves and destitute all sovereignty in every country in the world. Because we say so and we have the power and nobody's opposing us. Well, now they have opposition, and that is Iran. Iran is fighting back in 7 different fronts to many countries. That they have the European Union, Canada, the United States against them. And they still have managed, even though the death toll is growing, the same is happening in Lebanon, where the United States of Israel and Israel are operating with total impunity for now and have, in other words, have said, okay, this is the new way of the world. We, the strong, justice was the strong said, in the interest of the strong. We all remember Plato, I have cited that many times before, 2,300 years, when in dialogue with Thrasymachus and Socrates, he said, okay, what is justice? And Thrasymachus answered, justice is what is in the interest of the strong. It hasn't changed in 2,300 years. So what are we, the people, to suppose to do about it? Well, take over. If we, the people, don't take over, for the first time in 2,300 years, the powerful always will be the one that tell us what to do and what not to do, take over our initiatives, never support our entrepreneurship. And of course, that is not democratic. That is brute capitalism, which is I have money to produce companies that are going to take over everything that can be produced. Amazon, for example. If you write a book, I'll take a certain percentage of this book of your production, and that's monopolies. When you create monopolies, like Peter Thiel said, the competition is not the way is monopolies. And he is, of course, with the contracts that his friends give him, with billions of dollars in contracts that with public money, but the profit doesn't come for the people. That the profit stays with him and his friends that adjudicated him his contracts. When that happens, democracy is dead. It's plutocracy what takes over, and the result of plutocrats is what we are seeing against Iran. It's what we are seeing from the last century for more than 100 years, since the somebody wrote a book about how to create a state for people without land and land for with no people, which is a total lie. Okay, because there was Palestinians there always have been Palestinian, and they lived for centuries with the Ottoman Empire and before the Ottoman Empire with Muslims and Christians and Jews, and they lived together. They were betrayed with the Sykes-Picot Agreement, which even called Italy and said to Italy, hey, if you help us here, we're going to give you land in Anatolia. Don't worry, once we defeat the Ottoman Empire. That didn't happen. The Arabs were betrayed. The Hussein lost their position in the Arab world, and it was fought by the Saudi Arabian family, the House of the Saudi, and they won Saudi Arabia for themselves, which is a family monarchy. And that's what happens in the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, and all these countries that are monarchies, oil, very rich oil and gas, but especially oil producers, OPEC, whatever, in what language you speak about it. But these countries use the petrodollar, the dollar, as the fundament, we all know that, for the transactions that have to be made only in dollars. So that strengthened the money of the United States, but that's been changing, like I said before, because of the close grip that the Chinese and the Russians have developed with BRICS. They have 10 official members right now, and they have 10 other 10 countries that are doing business with them, even though they are not official partners of BRICS. But these other 10 are doing business with China and Russia. And that is something that the United States and its hegemony doesn't want to abide to. So they rather go to war and kill and destroy their way or no way. And the world is changing. The world wants democracy. The world wants the people to have a say. Because right now we don't have any choice but to live with what the government gives us. People on age, in the case of Canada, on age, which are $1,950, are going to be taken though by 200. The benefits for many Canadians are being taken off the table, but the spending of money, which is exactly that, is an expense. It's not an investment. When you spend money in weaponry, you're not investing on anything. You're not getting anything in return but war. Okay? Yes, you're making money because you're producing something, but the money that you're making stays with the people and the stockholders of that company. It benefits Canada in no way. The same happened with the healthcare system. The healthcare system operates thanks to the government of Canada and the first world countries, which are known to be very smart in the sense that they protect their people no matter what. The people are to be protected, no bombs in the streets, take care of the drug addicts and the people with mental problems, but people are not to live homeless. But that is changing in the United States for the last 50 years, especially after the Second World War and the creation of the State of Israel, which is the worst thing that can happen to America and the world. Right now, they're killing and destroying at least 5 countries, including Syria, Lebanon, whenever they feel like Jordan, Palestine, of course, and Iran. So that's a lot of fronts they're fighting to because they're very greedy. And they don't want nobody else to have the so-called democracy they pretend to have, which is paid by everybody else in the world, the Canadians, the Americans especially. But everybody in the world gives money to Israel because it's kind of like a pact that people, not us, the people, but the business, the bankers of the world, which are in many cases from Jewish origin, and many of them are Zionists too, and they participate in these wars, laundering money for the narco-traffickers. It has been proven before, not only the Jewish bankers, but the American bankers and everybody, as long as the drugs are illegal. Cocaine, for example, marijuana, which has been legalized in Canada since 2017, and others are depenalized, let's say. The same has happened in some states in the United States, but in Central and South America, people keep on dying. As President Petro explained in the last meeting with the European Union and the countries in Europe that wanted to attack the problematic of the drug addiction and the drug trafficking, he was very clear that the people are not the peasants in Colombia or in Ecuador only, but the consumers in the United States, the consumers in Europe, the consumers in Canada, who are part of this problem. And not only that, the rich people and the property that these narco-traffickers have, it should be seized by the countries in Europe, the countries in like America and Canada, not only the peasants, and attack the peasants and fumigate with all kinds of products and chemical products that destroy the soil, like Agent Orange in the Vietnam War, or so many other chemicals that have been used in Colombia and Ecuador and Mexico. Now that the United States is in Ecuador trying to break into Colombia, accusing Colombia of narco-traffickers and the dissidents from the FARC, which has an extinct guerrilla. It doesn't exist anymore. There's other fronts that decided not to go to the Paz Total, the total peace plan of President Petro, Gustavo Petro of Colombia. So the United States is attacking, as always, with the CIA and operatives from Ecuador in the border of Colombia, places in Colombia, and that is an attack on Colombian sovereignty, even though President Petro was very clear about the sovereignty and the understanding with the presidents. The same, referring here to President Donald Trump. After 1 month after President Trump took Maduro out of office, so President of Colombia is not out of danger with the United States. Neither are any of the presidents of and representatives in the last conference in order to fight drug trafficking in Europe, because Europe has become a hub for narco traffickers with a lot of money. And they're laundering their money and they're living there. They live in New York, in Saudi Arabia, in the most beautiful cities in the world. Abu Dhabi, Paris, you name it. Luxembourg, wherever they have the money to pay, they will be there, and they have tax havens there. The world doesn't care about how do you make your money. If you kill and destroy, who cares? You're rich enough, so as long as you pay some interest fees for us to keep your money, it's no problem. Keep it here. And that is not the way you're going to fight narco trafficking. The way to fight narco trafficking is legalizing the drugs so that money can be produced and invested in people's health. Of course, to legalize the drugs like cocaine, you need education because it's very addictive. And there's many other drugs, synthetic drugs, that have to be studied and stop the manipulation of these ones. Legalize. That is the solution to this matter. It has been presented like this by this program for many years as the only solution: education, legalization, and prevention. And the same, so that that profit doesn't go to very few people, but is spread and well distributed to ourselves, to us the people, so that we can access education programs, technical programs, intellectual programs, the university free healthcare, many other things that we can develop that we already have in Canada, but with this crisis, especially after the pandemic, now the almost 2.5 years of war of the United States of Israel against Palestine and Israel, and now against Lebanon, Iran, and every other country in Central and South America, killing people in the Caribbean, accusing them without proof that they're narco traffickers and they have illicitly trafficking drugs to our country, killing our youth. That's all bullshit. It has not been proven. And like President Petro said, we have seized 3,300 tons. Listen well, 3,300 tons since he became president of Colombia in 2022, like never before. And even though, knowing that, the President Trump has not removed him from the list of narco traffickers and enemies of the United States and the people of the United States, and all this national security crap that they invented around anything since 2001, because in the last 25 years, if something we have seen in the last 25 years is how the declaration of the presidents of especially the European countries against their own people now, because before it was only the third world countries, the global south, Central and South America. Who cares about those people? They're First Nations, they're idiots, they're poor. So let's take everything they have, let's take everything they get, corrupt the civilians, corrupt the higher classes, the political classes, make them our best pals, give them a piece of the interest of America, never let them develop their own industry, never let them develop their own healthcare, never let them develop anything for their own people. Everything has to be for us, for us the American. And that's the case. In Iran, for example, when the oil and gas industry was controlled by Britain, it was the British Iranian Oil Corporation, you know, but only 16% of the brute oil revenue was given or was part of the revenue that Iran enjoyed in those days when that corporation was king in Iran. So when Mohammad Mossadegh came into power, elected as prime minister of Iran, democratically, the CIA and the MI5 conspired in order to defeat and take over coup d'etat President Mossadegh, and they did. Because he wanted to nationalize their oil. Instead of receiving 16%, let's go 51, 49. If you're going to put technology, if you're going to put work, we put the people, we put the knowledge we have, and we put Iranian people. But no, what they did was, I'm going to give you only 16% of the revenue that we produce because you don't do nothing. It's our technology. It's always saying like that. It's our technology. You're better than you are. You're stupid. Only us know how to develop the oil and gas industry. The same with the enrichment of uranium in order to upgrade to atomic weaponry. Yes, Iran has no choice now but to do it because they have been betrayed, and now they're accusing Israel and the United States and, of course, Canada and the Europeans, saying that no, it is Iran who doesn't want to negotiate. Negotiate what? You killed the negotiators Twice. You bomb Iran and destroy their nuclear plan, according to you. So why would Iran sit with you when you just kill the negotiators, whether in their own country or in different countries like Qatar? And whenever the Israelis and the United States of Israel feels like, kill them. Why would they try to find peace with such countries that the only reason they have to make business with Iran is to destroy them? And now they want the medium and long range missiles. In other words, put your hand down, so we're going to cut your head. And we're going to kill you and take your wealth. Who is that stupid? Nobody is that stupid unless they have nuclear weapons. We already have gone through this. Everybody knows that nowadays, especially the youth. So it is important for us, for the country, for the world, to understand how big the stupidity of the super rich can get us in. And that is the Third World War. Because they're incapable of being social. They are incapable of thinking like a regular person does when it goes to work, makes his money, pays his rent, spend in groceries, tries to save money to get a better life, to make a better living, to get their family on vacation. That is not possible nowadays. When a lettuce is $5 and going up, where a crop of celery is $5 to $7 and going up, when a piece of roast beef can cost you $35, it's not even a pound, if it's a pound. And after you cook it, it gets reduced to very little. And when we see all this happening, it's because the super rich have no responsibility whatsoever when it comes to public safety or public safety nets. No, they want all the money that the public can produce. Look what Dodge has done since Donald Trump entered power. Take all the money from the public and take it to themselves, for themselves, and destitute. USAID, for example, which was a front of the CIA, we all know that. It was implicit in coup d'etats and NGOs and all that stuff. Yeah, I understand that. And they destroyed the aid part and kept the spy part in the USAID. And the rest come to Papa, which is Elon Musk, making money out of public money. I mean, the taxpayers pay for all these institutions that are supposed to help Americans. But no, now they're in the hands of Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and all the public money is to make them brute capital. And as long as there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people unemployed that cannot afford insurance, they cannot afford medicine or anything like that, who cares? That's how the rich think. That's Elon Musk, that's the Epstein class. That's the people that we have in control. Here in Canada, they're in Germany, subservience to the whim and caprice of the United States of Israel, and Israel, no less an invasive species that is taking over the world. If we don't pay attention to it quickly, they will take us over. And here in this program, what we fight for is to have the opinion of the people, to understand in their informed opinion, why is it that the super rich cannot control what is public or the destination of the world itself? Because they're stupid, they're incompetent, and they live in a fantasy world that not even the Taliban live nowadays, because they have become even more fanatics than the so-called Islamists that they criticize so much, with big headset and the prayers on top of him and the gospel that they predict based on Genesis 12:3, which is a lie, because after Genesis 12:3, God himself said, I want to destroy Israel because it's like a whore. Hoseas, go to Hoseas, go to Jeremiah 17, go to Jeremiah, go to the prophets that were sent to Israel because it was not obeying God's will or God's commandments or word. That's the reality. So Genesis 12:3 ends there, because Genesis 12:3 is nothing but, if you're going to attack Israel, God will protect you, sure, as long as you obey and you abide by the law of Moses. But that's what they didn't do. They have the calf, I said it before, and they were dancing and partying and having their time of their lives. Hey, Moses, you're not welcome here, man. Even his brother, fuck off, Moses, we don't want you here. So he broke the tablets. So what is going on? That has been happening after Genesis 12:3. So don't come to us with those lies. Even the prophets that Jesus said that you kill all the time, and he comes with parables like the bad administrator that you should hear, or Epulon that I have mentioned before, or the bad administrator, which is the one that we have right now. No, well, that is his son, let's kill the son and we take the inheritance with us. That is what they're doing with capitalism, abuse capitalism, savage capitalism, like Pope John Paul II used to say. Savage capitalism, I disagree with that because it's stupid, takes over, and it's irresponsible, and discriminates and say, you don't have money, you're stupid, you don't have money, you're inferior, you are nothing compared to me, look at me, I am super rich, I have this car, I do this, I participate in politics, I don't participate in politics, but I'm rich. I have a contract by the United States government, or the European government, or the Canadian government, which is exactly one of my points. What companies are going to receive the $30 billion that Canada is going to invest in when it comes to defend the Arctic? What companies? American corporations, Canadian corporations, are we going to benefit? They're going to create jobs for us. In case we want to get back to the workforce and you're after 60, why not? Who is going to take those jobs? Because I want to have a good pension plan and I want to live in peace here in Canada. Even though I have an issue with my neighbor, since this guy moves, it's nothing but noise and it's very abusive, etc. So when we see all this and how the super rich manage, that's why I'm talking about Friedrich Merz in Germany, Mark Carney in Canada, von der Leyen in Europe, and Kaja Kallis, also representative of the European Union, even though they have not been voted in the case of von der Leyen, and she's making the decisions from the European Union. It's an advisory council that where the von der Leyen is president. Is not voted popular. Nobody voted for her to make such decisions regarding militarism, going to war, etc. And investments, like I said, this is not an investment. When you spend money in war, it's just an expense. You don't really receive any income back from the war industry. The only people that make money is the guys that produce the bombs with tax money, but the profit stays with them. And they get richer and richer and richer to the point that they keep on using the tax money, but they keep on building and building enormous masses of fortunes. Larry Fink, we have mentioned that before. So as long as the world is controlled by the golden calf, since the days of Moses, and let's get back to Plato when he says justice is what is in the interest of the strong, we have never been endangered as a species, never in 2300 years since the days of Plato until now, because of the greed, the ambition, the lack of vision, and mentally ill people that control our politics nowadays. And they not only want that, they want to privatize everything here in Canada. Healthcare, public schools, everything. They're still buying what is public. We mentioned in the last program how there are communities that are foreign communities that are growing in silence. Don't say anything, we're growing, we're growing, we're growing. We are sectarian, we don't want white people, we don't want people that are not Israelis, we don't want people that are not for the Zion. Exactly. That is colonialism, and that is an invasive species behavior. But to be in the same situation 2300 years is because we, the people, have never had the chance to operate like people or as a democratic entity anywhere in the world. We were lucky to have countries like first world countries that now are being taken over by fascists and greedy people that want to privatize everything in those countries like Finland, Holland, Canada, Greenland. They want to take over in order to privatize everything, so that's going to create a difference of classes. It's going to make true all the principles that Marx talk about. And it's the fight of classes, when the super rich people or the rich people don't give a damn about the other people and pay them the minimum probable and possible for them, or less if they're illegal immigrants, etc. When we think that way, or we are in the hands of people that think that way, there's no future for any civilization or humanity or any species that is intellectually capable of understanding the universe and able to transform its surroundings and able to establish contact with other civilizations. Like I said, fascism and war, this hegemony that the Europeans, Canadians, political class and Americans are speaking about is nothing but the symptom of a decadent civilization, and a civilization that is not going to make it, that very probably end up in an atomic war and self-destroying, with the innocent millions of innocent people ever having the chance to really govern themselves. Here in Canada, as a constitutional monarchy that we apply the democratic principles of Greece, also the Parliament of Britain, but we need to separate ourselves from Britain and still be Canada as an entity that can really guide the world, like I have mentioned before, Mark Carney, and before this stupidity of President Donald Trump and his tariffs, that Canada can lead the world in a better way as long as there's no central bankers controlling the finances of and the corporations that finance public health, etc. Otherwise, everything's going to be privatized. We're going to own nothing, and we're going to have 15-minute cities, and the footprint is going to be too big. And but the rich, the Carneys, the Facebooks, and the people with money who gives a damn whatever footprint they leave in their private jets every day they travel, because they don't want to take the regular jets. And who cares about their footprint? It is our footprint that is important and is causing all the damage, not theirs. The super rich never are wrong, and like George Bush said, I will never apologize for America, never, ever, ever apologize for America. And that is the wrong position, dude, because America is destroying the world. It is already possessed by a foreign entity and a foreign government. And not only that, it's corrupt to the core. And if the corporations that are corrupt to the core are monopolizing everything that the people can produce, and now with the replacement of people with artificial intelligence and mechanization, computerized mechanization of a lot of work, what is it that they're going to do? This has happened. I have talked about this at least 10 years ago, speaking about precisely transhumanism and all these views that the super rich have, that the world is too little for so many people. That is a lie. That is total lie. Vandana Shiva has proven that in many of her books, and many other scientists have proven that there's nothing but land around us. We can live in peace together with security, healthcare, free healthcare, and we can develop civilizations that are way higher than the ones that our governments are presenting us as the top of the line. Because we all know that DARPA, for example, and many other corporations that develop technology, they have the technology 20 years before, and then they show it up 20 years after. We have Wi-Fi for 100 years. We have it, 5 years ago, 10 maximum. We had Cure for the Cancer, Roger Raymond Rife, as mentioned it before, and many other inventors that get killed, disappear, or pursued and destroyed. And those patents come with some people that normally are from Jewish descent, or all of a sudden come with an idea that somebody else invented, but it was in the shelves for many decades until somebody came with the idea and profited from it, corrupting the Congresses, corrupting the Chamber of Parliament, chambers and parliament representations, whether in the European Union, America, and Canada. And as long as we keep on living like this, this is the result. Going to war against everybody, that's it, and destroy everybody because we feel like we want to. We are not afraid of doing it. Nobody's stopping us, and we are super rich, and that is business, good business for us. So let's go kill and destroy. I don't think so, pa. We had enough of this crap. So for us, for the country, for the world, to act today, think about this. And elect the right people here in Canada for October all elections. And there's no such thing as separation of Alberta. Alberta is not going to separate from Canada. Forget about it. But we need to transit from gas, oil, and energy, that kind of sources of energy that we have since Nikola Tesla, again, more than 100 years ago, and with the greed of the oil and the mafia that the oil is, and the lobbies and the corporations that the pharmaceutical industry, the oil and gas industry, the tobacco industry, whatever super rich people are doing against us, the country in the world, is taking us to the Third World War, while they hide in their bunkers with the atomic bombs, rain, and all the secondary effects and third effects of nuclear blast will do to us on Earth. They will come to restart over with I don't know what story to tell the people, that there's a God, that there's a guy in the heavens, like George Carlin used to say, "There's a God in the heavens that watches all and all and all," but he needs money. He needs a lot of money, and he's right, because even the religious leaders and the evangelical pastors like Hagee and all those guys that are making Catholic and Christian evangelicals believe that Genesis 12:3 is they're not only stupid, but they think that Christians are stupid, and I think they can be very easily manipulated when they still believe that Genesis 12:3, disregarding the other prophets that come after them against the state of Israel and against Israel, because it was God himself who sent them, and they killed them all. Jesus said that, up until Jesus. So to use Apocalypse, to bring out an Apocalypse, to go against the world and in the name of Genesis 12:3, disregarding the prophecies that came after till Jesus, especially Jesus, is to be stupid. I mean, it's in the Bible. Everything that I just mentioned is in the Bible. And when a pastor comes to tell you that only Genesis 12:3 is true, disregarding why the prophets came in order to correct 12:3, because it never worked. They never loved God more than the gold. They never read the 10 Commandments, but stuck to the gold. They were in Babylon. They converted to all kinds of gods and idolatry. All that is narrated in after Genesis 12:3. So you're lying to us. You're lying to your fellow Christians, and the Christians are buying it. That's the most crazy thing about it, is that Christians and Catholics and Christians evangelicals have bought it for way too long. I hope they open their eyes too. We all have to open our eyes and understanding and call God, because it's not the call of Satan. That is, destroy Iran, destroy all the countries, take over, let's make America inferior than Israel again, because the plan is to take over America, and America has already been taken over. If you see the Congress bowing against their own interest with Israel, it has been discussed by many interesting and citizens, like this program does. This is citizens journalism, and journalists like TYT and many others. I don't know, Glenn Greenwald, Grey Zone, Ben Norton, my program. We, the people, need to govern our own countries. We, the people, demand sovereignty, and that means take the rich away from political government and public decisions, because they are incompetent. They don't know how to handle, but to make profit. They don't care about the people and their well-being, and they don't want us to be profitable also, to make decent money and live way better than we can live even now, when we don't have to pay $5 for a lettuce, $7 for a crop of celery, $5 to $7, and the fruits, the beef. Like I said, the cost of living is going up. The housing prices are incredibly high, and you cannot buy but rent. So again, we need to take all those monies from Amazon, from Facebook, from YouTube, from all those guys, and redistribute it to the people, with the people, so that we can have better access to health systems, etc. Legalize drugs, sure, absolutely. And even though Facebook and Amazon and all those guys will be way richer than any of us can be, they will still have billions of dollars in their bank accounts. But as long as they are not part of the political environment, only this way a civilization will thrive, in order to contact other civilizations and also be an example of what not to do in a solar system where there's the capacity, or there's a species with the capacity to transform their environment, to acknowledge where they are, and to go to the stars. For us, for the country, for the world, hope to see you next time in the next edition of React Today as part of the World Wheel Project. Au revoir, bye bye, hasta pronto.